Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. It's my pleasure to present to you the September City Manager's Report. I'll start, as usual, with a few updates on important dates coming up. Just to let you know, I'll be meeting with our Special Assistant Attorney, Shane Gutto, in Williston later this week to talk about a revised initiative to change the public city funding through state legislation that we're working on collaboratively now with multiple cities who are associated with this work. That'll happen on September the 7th. There are two special city public hearings on the 14th in regard to the budget, and then hopefully the final passage of the budget with a second reading on September 21st. Planning Commission this month will meet on September 25th. We'll have two committee of the whole meetings, as you know, September 26th and 27th. The Assiniboine River Basin meeting will be held here in Minot on September 27th. The North Coast Fest will be held September 27th through 30th. I'm told that's a great time. I'm looking forward to that. And then finally, the North Dakota League of Cities annual conference, if you have not already signed up, is going to be September 28th through 30th. Just myself and Alderman Padre-Goula are the only two so far signed up for that conference. So if you are interested, please let us know before we release the block of rooms we have on reserve for the conference. Up next, a couple things that have been going on inside the City Hall. Budget communication, we've been focusing on improving the public education and engagement in and around our budget this year, emphasizing transparency and availability to the community in regard to community leaders, media partners, and so on and so forth. We want to make sure that we are doing all we can to get the message out on this year's budget. Our hope was to try, by doing that, to educate as many of the citizens and leaders of the community so that they knew exactly what we were up to here in City Hall as it related to this year's budget. We will continue to focus our time, energy, and efforts on educating and informing the citizens at every opportunity that we can. We feel that that's certainly critical as we move through the process. And of course, as this process comes to a close, it's not too long after before we begin work on the next year's budget. In that interim, we'll also be looking at improvements along the way. I may be asking for your assistance in regard to what worked well this year, what you'd like to see changed as we update the budget process for next year. So with that, we'll move on to flood protection. A lot of progress moving forward here, some exciting work. Phase 1 is out for bid. The bid opening is expected on October the 23rd. We imagine that construction is probably going to take more like 3 years rather than the 2, and we do hope that there's going to be groundbreaking possible this year with regard to the pump station work that's going to occur. Phase 2 and 3 was also bid with Phase 1, so it's out for bid, same time periods for bid opening, pre-meetings. We do not expect that Phase 2 or Phase 3 work will actually take place this year. It'll likely be into next year before that work continues. The EIS, that's the Environmental Impact Statement for the flood protection projects. The public comment period is closed. There's been only 2 minor comments that have received, which is good news. So we don't believe that any adjustments are going to be needed. And with that, the EIS is headed to Washington, D.C. for signature. Finally, the hazard mitigation project is wrapped up. Most of you were there at the ribbon cutting. I appreciate your attendance. And certainly that of Senator Hogan and also Congressman Kramer and other dignitaries from around the community who were instrumental in helping to pull this enormous project off, which I think stands as an icon for our community in showcasing what we're going to be undertaking into the future. So an excellent, excellent day, and I appreciate again all who were involved in that. Moving forward, we'll get to a couple quick construction updates. First of all, let's talk about the 83 bypass. We are adding lanes to the west side. Currently over about 450 yards of concrete's been poured. It's about an average of 5 trucks per hour. It's incredible. They're building a new bridge over the river. We've laid asphalt at the intersection at 21st and bypass and adding a turning lane to the northbound section, as well as traffic signals, which are all expected to be completed this year. The intersection has to be completed by the end of this season. So we're shooting for that. Year 2 of 2 will replace the existing lanes to the east. So as you know, this is a 2-year project, and we're just wrapping up we're not wrapping up, but we're close to wrapping up the first of the 2 years. The Broadway Bridge work is slightly behind schedule. I want to point out that this is not due to the contractor. This is really due to supply issues associated with the bearings that are needed for the bridgeway. So there was some lead time that was required in order for those bearings to be essentially acquired and for the project to continue. And that's what essentially slowed the project just recently. The substructure work is substantially complete, however, and the beams and bearings for the bridge will be set earlier this month. So that is, we hope, going to get the project moving again back on schedule. A contractor plans to open the bridge to the driving public in late October or perhaps early November. And of course, this is a 2-year project, so we'll see the exact same thing happen next year, but just on the opposite side. With that, verdict reconstruction continues. The 13th Street intersection has been open in August. That's the main zoo entrance, and then now the temporary zoo entrance, which was 11th Street, has been closed, and that's being worked on. Traffic leaving the zoo will exit through the north temporarily while that intersection is improved, and the underground work will continue 13th to 15th. The project is on time. We're happy to report. We know that's a big inconvenience to the traveling public. The downtown infrastructure projects are going on nicely. The contract is almost finished pouring the new roads and sidewalks. 5 blocks are currently impacted. We have about 3 to 4 weeks before the work is going to be completed, and there's a possible ribbon cutting that's been projected for late September or early October. I'm sure the Downtown Business Association and all the other businesses downtown are going to be excited when this is done. So we're pleased to report this is the 3rd of 3 years. Lastly, I'll just report on the 18th Avenue Storm Sewer Project. As you may recall, this project is to improve drainage along the 18th Avenue corridor. It also was to update an antiquated water main opportunistically as the project has proceeded. We're about 50% complete. Began the project on July 16th and expect to finish it at the end of this month or so. Again, total cost about $1 million for that project. Just want to update you quickly on the parking garages. Pleased to report a couple updates in regard to status. Cypress did pay their 2016 October rent of $257,500 for both structures, just a few days before the cure period was due. So we've gotten that money in hand. Also, the crane infills were completed on the central ramp, and the crane removal and infills are supposed to begin this month on the Renaissance ramp. We do expect with that work and additional project closeout activities to finally close out the construction, which was the city's portion of the parking ramps, hopefully soon thereafter, perhaps as early as October. A couple next steps. Our legal team, both internally and that with the assistance of outside counsel, are continuing to evaluate options. At the same time, I'm pleased to report that we are continuing conversations with Cypress to work collaboratively together on resolutions and keeping those projects moving forward with the developer. A couple things on the resilience program. Affordable housing, Park South development agreement was signed. That was, of course, held up with some red tape, if you will, in regard to some federal activities that were required before they could launch. The multifamily RFP held a second pre-proposal meeting on August 16th. The bid is opening the bid opening is in September 18th. EAPC held 2 resilient neighborhood design forums. The first one was poorly attended. Fortunately, the last one, or the second one, was attended by over 25 participants, which is great. Single-family RFP is being presented to City Council this evening. Of course, it's already gone through this committee of the whole, so you've already seen that. Moving forward to the downtown gathering space, we're slowly moving forward with this project. The program manager met with the Downtown Business Association in August. Teams also meeting internally to talk about different properties and determine geographical parameters. Other properties are being evaluated currently, and a more detailed update on the proposed plan moving forward will be presented to the committee of the whole at the end of October. So there are some exciting developments that we're working on behind the scenes on this, and that's why I want to just give us a little bit more time to then get back to you in late October through the committee of the whole presentation and let you know kind of what we've been doing on that front. Other progress, 6 properties were acquired in August and 10 relocations occurred. Family shelter RFP was submitted to council tonight for your consideration. Again, you saw that last week in the committee of the whole. And then the Center for Technical Education, as the mayor mentioned, we had a meeting with the members of that particular subcommittee, And we are going to be looking at a property, potentially about co-locating some facilities, I believe later this week. And also, the technical advisors of that subcommittee are going to be working on a white paper to talk about the various technical programs that might be able to be developed under the center. So that's pretty exciting. Lastly, I'll touch on compliance activities. The HUD audit occurred in June, as you know. We are expecting results over the next month or so. The audit is focused on ensuring compliance with all the HUD rules. And I've mentioned before that we believe that we're going to do pretty well in the audit. However, there were two areas that I've mentioned to you, I believe, before, that a technical assistance visit has been scheduled or is being scheduled with the city to look at two other projects under the HUD. The parking ramp projects, and then also the 55th crossing project, which is on the council's agenda for later this evening. Some good news to report on the fire department side. Minot Fire Department has improved its ISO rating. We did lead with a press release on that. Very proud of both the public works staff as well as the fire department staff for working collaboratively together to improve our rating. And you may not know, but Minot joins just about 1,300 other communities in the entire country. That means of 46,000 fire departments across this country. We are one of 1,300 that are at this classification. And of course, that has big impacts on fire insurance ratings as well in our community, hopefully driving down those premiums for our residents. Minot Public Library has been up to a lot of good. They just finished their summer reading program for 2017, which is exciting. I'll share some of these numbers with you. About 950 children participated in 77 total programs. About 120 teams participated in 28 different programs. And then we had 74 adults participate. That brings total participation up to about 1,138 in the summer reading program. And of course, that's all to benefit the continued education and learning of young people and even adults throughout the summer months while school is out. We had one bit of exciting visitation, if you will, or exciting visitation from an African delegation that came to City Hall, and the staff and I spent some time, probably about 2 or 3 hours with the delegation. These are representatives from several African countries who are at the high government levels, so everything from mayors to executives and other dignitaries in essentially equivalent county and state governments there. It was really interesting. They were very intrigued by, in Minot's case, what they were learning from us is about financial procurement, and also they were interested in more about our flood control projects and procurement and interaction with the community and how to pull off a huge infrastructure project, mainly the flood control projects that we're doing. So I want to thank Dan and Lance for their work, and also Dave Lakefield and some of the other support staff in helping to spend the time with this group of individuals. They were very, very grateful for our time. And they toured many cities around the state in getting answers to a variety of different questions that they thought they could take back and learn from various communities in North Dakota, back in Africa. So with that, that's all I have for you tonight, but I'll stand for any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Berry? Straight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Berry, we talk a little bit about the two resilient neighborhood design forums. Are those going to continue, or is that just something through the NDR program that will come to an end when the NDR program comes to an end?
Well, Mr. Mayor and Alderman Straight, at the moment it's just contemplated to be just through the NDR program at this point in time. But if there's a need that extends beyond that program, I suppose we could investigate that and talk about ways to continue that. But for the foreseeable future, as we try to improve the buy-in part of the program, those forums will continue, and we'll continue to try to get information from the public on how to strengthen that program.
Straight. Tom, I hate to talk about parking garages, but I think we're all pleasantly surprised that the bill was paid in October, but that's October, right? There's still some behind payments that are still left by segments, correct?
Well, Mr. Mayor and Alderman Straight, the payment that was made for October 2016 rent is the one that I was referring to in tonight's presentation. They are paid in full in regard to that rent. They will owe us another rent payment this coming October. We will be more aggressive about pursuing payment Unfortunately, as I think some of you may be familiar with, there is a 4-month cure period allowed in the contract. So even if they don't pay that bill on October of 2017, for October 2017 rent, we have to issue them notice, give them another 120 days to cure. Of course, the last time, their words to us were, don't expect a check until the 119th day of the cure period, which I think is unfortunately, bad form myself professionally, but if you have that time and you don't have to pay that money out, I suppose that's a business practice you could employ, but.
Any other questions for Mr. Berry? Mr. Wolski?
Just a comment, Mayor, thanks. Tom, this presentation continues to evolve. I appreciate the information you're delivering. In particular, I appreciate the addition of the flood protection update. I think that's such an enormous project. It's going to have such a huge impact on the community. A monthly report on those activities, drilling down a little deeper, is something that's very appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Berry? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.